Rain slammed against the windshield so hard the wipers could barely keep up. "Daddy, faster!" 5-year-old Min Jae laughed from the back seat, tiny sneakers pressed against the leather seat as he held his toy dinosaur in the air. Beside him, Soo-jin turned around with a tired smile. "Don't encourage him." Park Eun-woo smirked faintly, one hand on the steering wheel. "For the record, your son is the dangerous one. He's your son, too." Unfortunately, Min Jae gasped dramatically. "Mommy," Daddy said, "unfortunate." Soo-jin laughed softly under her breath. And just like that, the inside of the car felt warm. The kind of normal people never realize they're living inside until it's gone. Outside, Seoul was drowning in rain. Traffic lights blurred red and yellow across wet roads. Cars moved slower than usual. Eun-woo adjusted his grip on the wheel, glancing briefly at the GPS screen. His phone buzzed through the car speakers. "Daniel." Again. Eun-woo frowned. Soo-jin noticed. "You should answer. He can wait. He's been calling for 20 minutes. That's because he's dramatic." Another buzz. Then another. Min Jae suddenly leaned forward between the seats. "Daddy." "What?" "I'm hungry." "You ate 30 minutes ago." "I'm hungry again." "That's your mother's side of the family." "What?" "It's true." Soo-jin shook her head, smiling despite herself. Then, headlights. Too bright. Too fast. Soo-jin's smile disappeared instantly. "Ien, vu." The truck slammed into them before she finished speaking. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. The world flipped. And then, nothing. 3 months later, Park Eun-woo stood in complete silence while someone cried in front of him. He didn't even know who the woman was. A relative, maybe. His wife's aunt. Or cousin. People had cried in front of him for weeks now. At the funeral, at the memorial, at the hospital. It all blurred together, eventually. He just stood there, in his black suit, eyes empty, hands cold. The woman touched his arm gently. "You have to eat something." Eun-woo looked at her hand, like he didn't understand why it was there. Then he quietly moved away from her. Across the massive living room, employees lowered their heads immediately when they noticed him watching. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed too loudly. The mansion used to feel alive once. Now it felt like a museum where grief lived permanently in the walls. His gaze drifted toward the staircase automatically. For half a second, his brain expected to hear tiny footsteps running down the stairs. "Daddy." Silence. The kind that physically hurt. Eun-woo looked away immediately. Mrs. Han approached carefully. She had worked for the family nearly 20 years, but even she had started speaking to him cautiously now. "Sir, your dinner is ready." "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten since yesterday morning." "I said I'm not hungry." Her lips pressed together softly. "Yes, sir." She turned to leave. Then, a small white blur jumped onto the couch. Chilia, his cat. The white Persian cat stretched lazily before climbing onto Eun-woo's lap like nothing in the world had changed. For the first time that entire day, something in Eun-woo's face softened. Barely, but enough for Mrs. Han to notice. His fingers moved slowly through the cat's fur. Celia purred quietly. And Eun-woo closed his eyes for a second, because that sound reminded him too much of home. Across the world, Erica Peterson sat on her kitchen floor staring at a bottle she hadn't touched in 11 months. Her hands trembled. Not because she wanted the alcohol, because she was tired. There was a difference. The apartment around her was painfully quiet. No cartoons playing. No little feet running around. No music. Nothing. Just silence and the hum of the refrigerator. On the table above her sat a framed picture of 2 children smiling beside a swimming pool. Erica looked away from it almost immediately. Some days, she could look at that picture. Some days, she couldn't breathe when she did. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She wiped her face quickly before answering. "Hello? Miss Peterson?" "Yes. This is regarding your employment application." Erica sat up straighter immediately. "We reviewed your culinary portfolio and references. The client would like to proceed with an interview." For a second, she couldn't speak. Because hope was dangerous after enough disappointment. Miss Peterson? Yes, sorry, I'm here. The position is located in Seoul, South Korea. Her eyes closed briefly. Right. Korea. The application she almost forgot she submitted during one of her sleepless nights. Private chef position. High salary. No problem, Erica said quietly. We should also mention, the employer is difficult. She almost laughed at that. Difficult. After everything she survived, difficult didn't scare her anymore. When's the interview? Few days later. The mansion was bigger than Erica expected. Not flashy, not warm either. Just cold. Beautiful and cold. Rain tapped lightly against the car window as she stared at the massive gates opening slowly. Her stomach tightened. The driver glanced at her through the mirror. Nervous? A little. You should be. Well, that wasn't comforting. The mansion staff welcomed her inside politely, but the atmosphere felt tense immediately. Everyone moved carefully, quietly, like they were afraid of making noise. Mrs. Han greeted her first. She was elegant, sharp-eyed, and impossible to read. You're Miss Peterson. Yes. Mrs. Han gave a small nod. Follow me. Erica picked up her suitcase and followed her through long hallways that barely felt lived in. No family pictures. No laughter. Nothing personal, except a white cat sleeping on a chair near the fireplace. Mrs. Han stopped instantly. So that's Celia. The cat blinked slowly at Erica before returning to sleep. Mrs. Han's voice lowered slightly. You should remember that name. Something about the way she said it made Erica glance at her. She belongs to Mr. Park? She belongs to nobody. Celia does whatever she wants. Erica almost smiled. Almost. Mrs. Han continued walking. You will prepare breakfast at 6 every morning. Mr. Park prefers Korean meals in the morning, Western meals occasionally at night. Everything must be exact. Understood. He dislikes repeated mistakes. That's fair. Mrs. Han stopped walking again. This time, her expression changed slightly. Not mean. Just serious. No, Miss Peterson. You don't understand. The air suddenly felt heavier. He does not tolerate mistakes. Erica stayed quiet. Mrs. Han looked directly at her. There are rules in this house. That evening, Erica stood alone inside the massive kitchen while rain poured outside the windows. The kitchen itself was beautiful, professional, organized, but she could still feel the tension in the house pressing down even here. Mrs. Han handed her a small notebook. These are his meal schedules. Allergy information, preferences, timing. Erica flipped through the pages slowly. Everything was detailed down to exact temperatures. Wow. Mrs. Han continued calmly. Do not interrupt him while he's working. Okay. Do not enter the West Wing unless instructed. Understood. Do not ask personal questions. Erica nodded again. And one more thing. Mrs. Han paused. Her expression softened just slightly for the first time. He was not always like this. Erica looked at her carefully, but didn't respond. Because she understood that kind of sentence. People only say things like that when grief changes someone beyond recognition. Footsteps suddenly echoed somewhere upstairs. Every employee nearby straightened immediately. The atmosphere shifted so fast Erica physically felt it. Mrs. Han lowered her voice. Mr. Park is home. And for some reason, the entire mansion suddenly felt nervous. The first thing Erica noticed about Park Eun-woo up close was how exhausted he looked. Not tired, exhausted. Like sleep hadn't reached him properly in years. He walked into the dining room without acknowledging anyone, dressed in a dark charcoal suit despite it being nearly 10 at night. His tie hung loose around his neck. His hair was slightly damp from the rain outside. And somehow, that made him look even colder. Mrs. Han stepped forward carefully. Your dinner is ready, sir. He gave a short nod and sat down. Nobody else moved. Erica stayed partially hidden near the kitchen entrance, quietly watching the staff move around him with almost surgical precision. No unnecessary sounds. No extra words. Even the silverware placement felt tense. Un-woo picked up his spoon, took one bite of the soup, then set the spoon down. Slowly. Too slowly. The room immediately became still. Mrs. Han noticed it too. "Sir?" Un-woo's voice came out flat. "Who made this?" Nobody answered immediately. Not because they didn't know, because they were scared. Erica stepped forward before anyone else could speak. "I did." His eyes finally lifted toward her. And for one uncomfortable second, Erica understood exactly why the staff feared him. Not because he yelled, because his silence felt worse. "It's salty. I'm sorry. I'll remake it." "You tasted this before serving it?" "Yes." "And still sent it out?" His tone never changed. That somehow made it more humiliating. Erica swallowed carefully. "It won't happen again." He stared at her another second, before standing abruptly. "I lost my appetite." Then he walked out. Just like that. No shouting. No dramatic scene. But the tension he left behind lingered in the room long after he disappeared upstairs. One of the younger staff members exhaled shakily. "Oh my God." Mrs. Han closed her eyes briefly. Everyone back to work. Then she looked at Erica. "You were lucky." Erica blinked. "Lucky? He didn't fire you." The next few days became a routine of pressure and silence. Erica woke before sunrise every morning, cooked, cleaned, memorized schedules, avoided mistakes, avoided Park Un-woo. The mansion itself had strange rhythms. During the day, employees moved carefully through polished hallways while soft classical music played faintly from hidden speakers. At night, the place felt hollow, too large, too quiet. Sometimes, Erica would see Un-woo walking alone through the garden with Celia in his arms. Always late, always silent, like a ghost haunting his own life. And every single person in the mansion watched his moods carefully. If he skipped breakfast, everyone got nervous. If he raised his voice, people whispered about it for hours. If Celia sat on his lap, the entire staff relaxed. It was honestly unbelievable. One morning, Erica was preparing breakfast trays while half asleep. She reached for the labeled containers beside the counter automatically. Mrs. Han walked in just as Erica placed a plate down for Celia, then froze. "Oh no." Erica looked up. Mrs. Han stared at the bowl. "That's her lunch meal." Erica frowned. "What?" Before Mrs. Han could answer, footsteps entered the kitchen. Perfect timing. En voix. Still dressed in black as usual, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. Celia immediately jumped onto the counter toward her food. Mrs. Han looked like she wanted the floor to open and swallow everybody. Un-woo noticed the tension instantly. "What is it?" Nobody answered. His eyes moved toward the bowl, then toward Erica. Mrs. Han spoke carefully. Miss Peterson accidentally gave Celia the lunch portion instead of breakfast. Silence. Erica braced herself. Un-woo walked closer slowly. "You mixed up her feeding schedule?" "It was an accident. She has a sensitive stomach." "I understand." "You understand after feeding her the wrong thing?" His voice sharpened slightly now. Not loud. Sharper. Erica held his gaze anyway. "I said I was sorry." That seemed to surprise him for half a second. Maybe because most people immediately looked away from him. She didn't. Un-woo glanced down at Celia, who was happily eating without a care in the world. Then he looked back at Erica. "Don't let it happen again." And just like before, he walked away. Mrs. Han stared after him. "You really are lucky." Erica rubbed her forehead. "Does he even smile?" One of the kitchen workers snorted quietly. Only at the cat. A week later, Erica finally heard the full story. Not from Mrs. Han. From gossip. People always talked eventually. She was chopping vegetables when two housekeepers started whispering nearby, assuming she couldn't hear them. "Did you hear him last night?" He fired another driver. "Why?" "He took the wrong route home." Erica paused slightly. That couldn't be serious. One of them lowered her voice further. I heard Mr. Park used to be completely different before the accident. The wife and son? A quiet nod. The kitchen suddenly felt colder. They said he carried his son out of the wreck himself. Erica stopped chopping. He was unconscious when help arrived, but he wouldn't let go of the child. Silence settled over the room briefly. Then the second woman sighed softly. I almost quit after my first month here. Why didn't you? The woman glanced toward the hallway. Because sometimes he looks like he's in pain just breathing. Erica looked down at the cutting board again. And unexpectedly, that stayed with her. That evening, rain fell heavily again. Seoul looked blurry through the mansion windows. Erica finished cleaning the kitchen late and headed upstairs quietly. Most of the staff had already gone to sleep. The mansion lights were dim, peaceful. She passed through the main lobby holding her phone tightly. On the screen was a picture of her daughter. Maya, 14 years old now, braided hair, big smile. The last school picture Erica had managed to get before visitation rights were revoked. Her thumb moved shakily across the screen. God, she missed her. Not in a simple way either. It was physical, like something had been ripped out of her chest and never returned. Erica sat slowly on the edge of the lobby couch, and before she realized it, tears slipped down her face. Quiet tears. The kind people cried when they were too tired to cry properly anymore. I'm trying, baby, she whispered brokenly to the photo. You probably think I gave up on you. Her voice cracked, but I didn't. Upstairs, footsteps stopped. Eun-woo had been heading toward his office when he noticed someone downstairs. At first, he almost kept walking. Then, he realized it was Erica, crying. He should have left immediately. Instead, he stood there silently in the shadows of the staircase, not moving, not speaking, just watching her hold that phone like it was the only thing keeping her together. Something uncomfortable twisted in his chest suddenly. Recognition, not attraction. Not pity, something worse. Understanding. Because grief recognized grief instantly. Erica wiped her face quickly after a few seconds and stood up before noticing him upstairs. Their eyes met. She froze immediately. Embarrassment flashed across her face. I'm sorry, she said quickly, putting the phone away. I didn't mean to. Eun-woo looked at her for one long second. Then, without saying a word, he turned and walked away. Erica stood there, confused, emotionally drained, and slightly humiliated. But upstairs, Eun-woo stopped walking the second he entered his office. His jaw tightened slightly, because, against his own will, he could still hear her crying. The following day, Celia disappeared. Nobody knew exactly when. One minute, she was sleeping near the sunroom windows, like always. The next, gone. At first, nobody panicked. The mansion was huge. Celia wandered constantly. Sometimes she hid inside closets for hours just because she felt like it. But by evening, the atmosphere had changed. Staff members searched every hallway, every guest room, every storage area. Mrs. Han personally checked the gardens twice. Nothing. And when Park Eun-woo came downstairs that night and noticed the empty spot beside the fireplace, the entire mansion felt it. Where's Celia? No one answered immediately. Mrs. Han stepped forward carefully. We believe she may have wandered outside somehow. Eun-woo stared at her. Outside. Rain had started again. His expression changed instantly. Not anger at first. Fear. Real fear. Search again. We already have. I said, search again. The staff scattered immediately. Erica stood near the kitchen entrance watching him. His hands were shaking slightly. That was the first thing she noticed. Not visibly. Not dramatically. But enough to tell her this wasn't just about a pet. This was something deeper. Something cracked open. The next 3 days were awful. Nobody in the mansion relaxed. Employees barely spoke above whispers. Eun-woo slept even less than usual. Sometimes Erica heard footsteps moving through the halls at 3 in the morning. Sometimes she found untouched food sitting cold in the dining room because he refused to eat. And the yelling got worse. A driver got screamed at for parking too slowly. One employee accidentally broke a glass and nearly burst into tears before Eunwoo even reacted. Nobody blamed him out loud, but everyone was exhausted. Especially him. Erica noticed the dark circles under his eyes getting worse each day. One night she found him sitting alone in the living room in complete darkness. Just sitting there. Not working. Not drinking. Nothing. The empty space beside him on the couch somehow looked louder than the entire room. She almost walked away, then quietly asked, "Have you checked nearby shelters?" Eunwoo didn't even look at her. "You think I haven't done that?" His voice sounded rough, like he hadn't slept properly in days. Erica stayed calm. "I was just asking. I already hired people." "Okay." Silence stretched. Then he spoke again. "She hates loud places." Erica blinked slightly. "What?" "If strangers took her somewhere crowded..." His jaw tightened. "She gets anxious." There it was again. Not just a billionaire missing a cat. A grieving man terrified of losing the last thing connected to comfort. Erica looked at him carefully for a moment, then nodded once. "I'll keep looking too." This time he finally looked at her. And for the first time since she met him, there was no anger in his eyes. Just exhaustion. The next morning, Erica used her break to make posts online. Neighborhood groups. Lost pet forums. Community pages. She uploaded the best photo she could find of Celia sleeping on the garden chair. White Persian cat. Blue collar. Responds to the name Celia. Reward offered. She stared at the reward amount before typing it. $1,000. Honestly, she couldn't afford that right now. Not really. But she posted it anyway. Mrs. Han noticed later that afternoon. "You used your own money?" Erica shrugged lightly while chopping vegetables. "He loves that cat." Mrs. Han studied her quietly. "You're kinder than this place deserves." Erica smiled faintly without looking up. "No, I just know what losing something feels like." Mrs. Han didn't respond immediately after that, because there was nothing to say. On the 6th day, the mansion felt unbearable. Rain hammered against the windows again. Eunwoo had locked himself inside his office most of the afternoon. Nobody wanted to go near him. Even the air inside the house felt tense. Erica's phone suddenly rang while she was preparing dinner. "Unknown number." She answered quickly. "Hello?" A man's voice came through the line. I saw your post about the cat." Erica straightened instantly. "You found her?" "I think so." "White fluffy cat? Blue collar?" Her heart jumped. "Oh my God, yes. Yes, that's her. She's here with my daughter. We found her near a small grocery store." Erica grabbed her coat immediately. "Can you send me the address?" She practically ran toward Eunwoo's office. Her heart was pounding. Finally, she knocked once, before opening the office door slightly. "Mr. Park." "Not now." His voice was sharp immediately. Erica pushed the door open a little further. "I need to tell you something." I said, "Not now." He didn't even look up from the documents in front of him. His patience looked completely gone. "This is important." That made him look up. And, unfortunately, she caught him at the worst possible moment. What part of "leave me alone" is difficult to understand? The room went silent. Erica froze slightly. Eunwoo stood abruptly from his chair. "For 6 days, everybody in this house has been acting useless. I don't need interruptions right now." Her expression shifted. Not anger, hurt, but small, controlled. "I found someone who has cilia," she said quietly. The words hit the room like glass shattering. Eunwoo stopped moving. "What?" But Erica had already stepped back. "I was trying to tell you." For the first time since meeting him, he looked genuinely caught off guard. "I'll go get her." And before he could respond, she walked out. The drive took nearly 40 minutes because of traffic and rain. Erica spent the entire ride nervous something would go wrong. What if it wasn't Celia? What if someone lied? But when the apartment door opened, a little girl stood there holding an annoyed-looking white Persian cat. Erica nearly cried from relief. Oh my God. Celia blinked at her lazily, like disappearing for a week had been completely reasonable behavior. The little girl smiled. She kept trying to run into our apartment. Her father laughed awkwardly from behind her. We saw the posts online. Erica held Celia carefully against her chest. You have no idea how important she is. The man smiled slightly. I figured. That billionaire reward was convincing. Erica handed him the envelope of money. He tried refusing at first. She insisted. No, please, take it. Celia immediately curled against Erica's coat comfortably, like she already knew she was going home. Back at the mansion, things were bad. Very bad. Yunwoo was in the dining room arguing with Mrs. Han when Erica finally arrived. Why isn't dinner ready yet? Sir, Miss Peterson stepped out for an emergency. I don't care. His voice echoed through the room. Then, the front doors opened. Everybody turned. Erica stepped inside slowly, soaked from the rain, hair damp, breathing hard. And in her arms, Celia. The entire room froze. Ava Unwo. For one strange second, he looked like he genuinely couldn't process what he was seeing. Then Celia meowed. And suddenly, she jumped from Erica's arms straight toward him. Unwoo caught her automatically. The cat rubbed against his chest immediately, purring loudly like she'd never been gone at all. Silence filled the dining room. Nobody moved, because Park Eun-woo's face had completely changed. Relief hit him so hard, it almost looked painful. His eyes closed briefly as he held Celia tighter. And when he opened them again, they were wet. Erica looked away slightly out of instinct, suddenly feeling like she was witnessing something too personal. Eun-woo stroked Celia's fur carefully, almost disbelieving. You came back. His voice cracked quietly. Mrs. Han immediately dismissed the staff with a glance. Everyone disappeared quickly, leaving only Eun-woo and Erica standing there. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then finally, how? He asked softly. Erica explained everything. The posts, the calls, the little girl, the reward. And slowly, while listening to her, guilt started settling visibly across Eun-woo's face. Because this was what she had tried telling him earlier. When he yelled at her, when he pushed her away. The realization clearly bothered him. After she finished speaking, silence settled again. Then quietly, I'm sorry. Erica looked surprised. Not because of the words, because he actually meant them. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. She stared at him for a second. This man terrified entire rooms. And yet right now, he looked almost uncomfortable apologizing. It's okay, she said softly. No, it isn't. He glanced down at Celia again before speaking quietly. Thank you for bringing her home. Then, after a pause, I'll repay the reward money. Erica shook her head immediately. No, you spent your own money. I know. I'm paying you back. No, Mr. Park. For the first time ever, a tiny smile touched her face. She's family. Something changed in the mansion after Celia came home. Not immediately. Park Eun-woo didn't suddenly become warm or cheerful overnight. He still worked too much, still barely slept, still walked around carrying grief like it was stitched into his skin. But the sharpness around him softened, just enough for people to breathe again. The staff noticed it first. He stopped snapping over tiny things. Meetings ended without someone getting fired. One morning, a housekeeper accidentally dropped a tray near the staircase and nearly looked ready to faint. Eun-woo glanced at the broken dishes, then simply said, "Be careful next time." The poor woman almost cried from relief after he walked away. By the second week, the mansion had started feeling different. Less like a place surviving a storm, more like a place slowly recovering after one. And somehow, most of that change traced back to the kitchen. Erica was making kimchi stew one evening when she realized someone was standing behind her, not close enough to startle her, just there. She turned slightly. Eun-woo, no suit tonight, just black sweatpants and a dark long-sleeve shirt. Honestly, he looked younger dressed like that. Less intimidating. Still exhausted, though. Always exhausted. You're still awake? She asked. It's my house. That doesn't answer the question. For a second, he looked mildly confused by that response. Then, unexpectedly, a quiet breath of amusement left him. Not a full laugh, barely even a smile. But it caught Erica off guard anyway. Eun-woo glanced toward the stove. What are you making? Kimchi stew. You cook when you're stressed. She looked at him briefly. You notice that? You cut vegetables louder. Erica stared at him for one confused second, before laughing softly under her breath. That might be the strangest observation anybody's ever made about me. He leaned lightly against the counter. Silence settled comfortably for a moment. Not awkward, just quiet. The sound of simmering broth filled the kitchen, while rain tapped softly against the windows outside. Then Eun-woo spoke again. You called her family. Erica looked up from the stove. Chelia? He nodded. You said she's family. Erica shrugged gently. She is. She's a cat. She matters to you. That answer stayed in the air between them longer than expected, because she said it so simply. No judgment, no teasing, just truth. Eun-woo looked away first. After that night, he started appearing in the kitchen more often, never announcing himself, never asking permission. He'd just quietly stand nearby while Erica cooked, sometimes checking emails, sometimes drinking coffee, sometimes saying nothing at all. And weirdly, Erica got used to it. One evening, she caught him feeding Celia tiny pieces of boiled chicken while pretending not to. You know she's manipulating you, right? In-woo looked down at the cat sitting beside him. She's been through a difficult time. Erica almost choked laughing. Oh my god. What? You sound serious. I am serious. Celia meowed dramatically. Eun-woo immediately gave her another piece. Erica shook her head slowly. She definitely runs this house. She thinks she does. She's right. Another tiny smile, gone almost instantly. But there, the workers started gossiping. Quickly, of course, because nobody wanted Mrs. Han hearing them. Still, people noticed things. Like how Eun-woo now ate dinner downstairs instead of alone in his office. Or how he started asking if Erica had eaten. Or how his mood seemed noticeably calmer whenever she was around. One afternoon, Erica walked into the kitchen and found two employees suddenly going silent. She narrowed her eyes immediately. What? Nothing. That was definitely not nothing. One of them grinned nervously. It's just, what? Mr. Park smiled yesterday. Erica blinked. Okay, the younger woman looked genuinely serious. You don't understand. That's basically a national event in this house. But the real shift happened outside. In the garden, the mansion garden was huge. Especially at night. Soft lights lined the stone paths. Trees moved gently in the wind. And for the first time since arriving there, Erica actually liked being outside again. She sat on the garden bench one evening, wrapped in a light sweater while Celia slept beside her. A few minutes later, Eun-woo appeared quietly carrying two mugs. He handed one to her. Tea. No coffee tonight? She asked. You complained I drink too much caffeine. I did not complain. You looked concerned. Erica gave him a look over the mug. You notice everything. Huh? Not everything. His voice lowered slightly after that. Just certain things. That did something strange to her chest, not butterflies. Not teenage nervousness. Something quieter. More dangerous. Comfort. They sat there for a while without speaking. The kind of silence that doesn't demand filling. Then Erica finally asked softly, Can I ask you something? Eun-woo looked toward her. You can ask. That doesn't mean you'll answer? No. Fair enough. She hesitated briefly. Why did you become so angry? The question hung gently between them, not accusing, just honest. Eun-woo looked down at his tea. For a moment Erica thought he wouldn't answer, then finally, My best friend killed my family. No emotion in his voice. Which somehow made the words hit harder. Erica stayed completely still. Eun-woo stared ahead at the garden lights. We were competing for the same contract. His jaw tightened slightly. $1 billion international deal. Rain began lightly in the distance. We were taking Min-jae to dinner that night because I kept canceling family plans for work. A humorless smile touched his face briefly. I almost stayed at the office. Erica listened quietly. He arranged the accident to destabilize me mentally. He thought if I collapsed emotionally, I'd lose the contract. His voice finally cracked slightly there. He didn't plan for them to die. Silence. Heavy silence. I found out months later. Erica swallowed slowly. What happened to him? He disappeared long enough to cover his tracks. And now, Eun-woo's expression hardened again slightly. Now he pretends to still be my grieving friend. God, Erica couldn't even imagine carrying something like that every day. Unwoo looked down at his hands quietly. When people betray you that deeply, he said softly, you stop believing anyone is good. The honesty in his voice hurt to hear because he meant it completely. Erica looked at him carefully for a long moment, then gently, you know that's trauma talking, right? He let out a short breath through his nose. That sounds like something therapists say. I spent enough time around therapists. That made him glance toward her again. And slowly, the conversation shifted. Like both of them silently understood it was her turn now, Unwoo's voice became quieter. The picture that night. Erica froze slightly. In all honesty, she thought he forgot about that. You saw me. I heard you crying. The rain started falling softly now around them, not enough to move yet, just enough to cool the air. Erica stared down into her tea. My ex-husband used to call me emotional whenever I cried, she said quietly. Like it was some kind of weakness. Yunwoo's face tightened slightly. He was abusive? Yes, she said it plainly. Like a fact, she got tired of decorating. At first it wasn't obvious. People like him don't start with violence. A small bitter laugh escaped her. That would make leaving too easy. Yunwoo stayed silent, listening carefully. He controlled everything slowly. Money, friends, confidence. Erica looked away toward the rain. Then one day you wake up and realize you've become smaller inside your own life. The honesty in her voice made something ache in Yunwoo. I started drinking after our son died. There it was, the deepest wound. Erica's voice weakened slightly now. I passed out upstairs one afternoon. She swallowed hard, and my little boy wandered outside near the pool. Yunwoo closed his eyes briefly. He drowned before anybody found him. The rain grew heavier. Neither moved. I still hear myself screaming sometimes. Erica whispered silence. Not empty silence, the kind that holds pain carefully. Then quietly, my ex-husband used that against me in court. Yunwoo's jaw tightened immediately. He told the judge I was unstable. Dangerous. A tear slipped down her face. And honestly, back then maybe I was. No. She looked toward him. For the first time since she met him. There was genuine emotion all over his face. Not hidden, not restrained. Just there. You were grieving, he said quietly. Something inside Erica nearly broke hearing someone say that without judgment. Yunwoo looked at her for a long moment before speaking again. We'll get your daughter back. She blinked slightly. What? We'll fight for custody again. Emotion flashed across her face immediately. Hope, fear, disbelief. That's not easy, I know. My ex-husband has money. Lawyers. Connections. So do I. The words were calm, but solid. For the first time in years, Erica felt like somebody was standing beside her instead of watching her drown alone. And neither of them noticed Celia quietly climbing into Erica's lap while the rain continued falling around them. After that night in the garden, something unspoken settled between them. Not official, not defined, but there the mansion staff felt it immediately, Mrs. Han especially. One morning she walked into the kitchen and stopped dead in her tracks. Park Yun-woo was sitting at the counter eating toast while Erica cooked breakfast beside him. Eating in the kitchen like a normal person, Mrs. Han genuinely looked confused. Unwoo glanced up calmly. Good morning. She narrowed her eyes slightly. Good morning. Then she walked back out. Erica tried not to laugh. She's suspicious now, she'll survive. No, seriously. I think you scared her. I've apparently been terrifying this house for years. That's true. He looked mildly offended. Erica smiled into the pan. And there it was again. That warmth, small, steady, dangerous. The strange thing about falling for someone later in life was that it didn't feel dramatic at first. There were no fireworks, no loud declarations, no dizzy obsession. It happened quietly, through routines, through noticing. Unwoo started remembering tiny things Erica mentioned casually. The tea she liked, the music she played while cooking, the fact she hated thunderstorms but pretended not to. One evening, she walked into the kitchen and found fresh peaches sitting on the counter. She blinked. We didn't order these. I did. She looked toward him. You remembered? You said your grandmother used to bake peach cobbler during summers. The softness in his voice caught her off guard slightly. Nobody had listened to her that carefully in years. Meanwhile, Erica started noticing changes in him too. Real changes. He slept more now, not much. But more the permanent. Tension in his shoulders eased sometimes. Occasionally she'd hear him talking softly to Celia, instead of sitting alone in silence, and every now and then, he laughed. Very briefly. Like he'd forgotten how but was slowly relearning it. Unfortunately, other people noticed Erica too. One afternoon, a grocery supplier arrived during inventory checks, a cheerful man around Erica's age, friendly, talkative, a little too comfortable. "You're American?" he asked while helping unload boxes. "Yeah, no wonder your Korean accent sounds expensive," Erica burst out laughing. "What does that even mean?" "I don't know. But it sounded smooth in my head." Across the courtyard, Yoon-Kwoo happened to walk outside right as the man lightly touched Erica's arm while joking. And instantly, something ugly twisted in his chest. Possessive. Sharp, unfamiliar. He hated it immediately. The supplier noticed him first and bowed quickly. Unwoo barely acknowledged him. His eyes stayed on Erica instead. "You're late preparing lunch." The atmosphere shifted immediately. Erica frowned slightly. "It's being handled." Then he walked away. Just like that, the supplier blinked awkwardly. "Did I do something?" Erica sighed quietly. "No. He's just—" But honestly, she didn't know how to finish that sentence anymore. Later that evening, she found Yoon-Woo sitting alone in the study, pretending to read documents, pretending badly. "You were rude earlier." Without looking up, he answered, "He was flirting with you." Erica stared at him for one full second, then laughed, actually laughed. Unwoo looked up immediately, slightly irritated. "What's funny?" "You're jealous." "I'm not jealous. You absolutely are. I barely know that man." "Exactly." He closed the file harder than necessary. Erica shook her head, smiling. "This is kind of adorable." His eyes narrowed slightly. "I'm a $40 billion CEO, and I'm not adorable." That only made her laugh harder. God. He hadn't heard laughter around him like this in years. Real laughter, not forced politeness, not business smiles. And the worst part? He realized he would probably destroy anybody who made it disappear. That thought unsettled him more than anything else. That night, Yoon-Woo couldn't sleep. Rain tapped softly against the bedroom windows while Celia slept near his feet. But his mind kept replaying tiny moments. Erica smiling, Erica laughing. Erica touching his arm absent-mindedly while passing him coffee earlier that morning. At 36, Park Yoon-Woo understood exactly what this feeling was, which was the problem, because he hadn't planned on loving anybody ever again. Especially not after burying his wife. Guilt crept in immediately after the thought. His late wife's framed picture still sat across the room untouched. For years, looking at it only hurt. Tonight, something else hurt too. Because for the first time since Soo-jin died, he wanted to keep living. And that terrified him. The confession happened 3 days later. Of course it did. Erica was finishing dinner cleanup late at night when the kitchen lights suddenly dimmed slightly from a power flicker outside. Thunder rolled somewhere in the distance. She sighed softly. "I hate storms." Yoon-Woo looked up from where he sat nearby. "You said that before." "I know. But you still stand near windows every time it rains." She smiled faintly. "My grandmother used to say storms pass faster if you face them." "That sounds medically untrue." Erica laughed under her breath. Then noticed he was staring at her strangely. Not cold, not distant, just serious. "What?" Unwoo stood slowly. For a second, he looked almost uncomfortable, which was new. Erica. The way he said her name made her chest tighten immediately. "I think about you constantly." Silence, rain against glass, soft kitchen lights, and him standing there looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen. "When you leave the house, I check the time without realizing it." His voice stayed calm but honest. "When you're upset, the entire day feels wrong." A breath left him quietly. "And when I thought something happened to you during the storm last week." He stopped there. Like even admitting that much cost him something. Erica's heart hurt a little watching him struggle through it. Unwoo looked directly at her. "I didn't plan this. I know, I tried not to feel it." "I know that too." His jaw tightened slightly. "But I love you." The words landed softly between them, not dramatic, not polished, real. And honestly, that made it harder to breathe. Erica looked down briefly, emotions visibly crossing her face, not shock, not fear. Something sadder, because she loved him too. She knew it already. Maybe for weeks now, but love after grief was complicated. Love after trauma was terrifying. When she finally looked back up, her eyes were glassy. "You make me feel safe," she admitted quietly. "Do you know how long it's been since I felt that?" Yoon-Woo's expression softened instantly. "But—" There it was, the painful part. Erica wrapped her arms around herself slightly. "My daughter still thinks I abandoned her." "You didn't, but she thinks I did." Her voice cracked softly. "And until I fix that, I don't know if I can fully give myself to anyone." Yoon-Woo moved closer slowly, never cornering her, never forcing closeness. Just there, supporting. "I understand." And he actually did. That was the difference. No manipulation, no pressure, no guilt, just understanding. Tears slipped down Erica's face quietly. I do love you, she whispered. Something emotional flashed across his face immediately at those words. But I need to get Maya back. You will. How can you sound so sure? Because I've watched you survive things that should have destroyed you. God. That almost broke her. Unwoo reached up carefully, brushing one tear from her cheek with his thumb. The touch was gentle enough to make her chest ache. We'll fight for her together. The custody battle preparations began the next week, and Yunwoo approached it like war. Top lawyers, private investigators, financial records, therapy documentation, sobriety reports, everything. At first, Erica felt overwhelmed by how serious he became about helping her, until she realized something important. Protecting people he loved was how Yunwoo showed love one afternoon. While reviewing legal paperwork together, Erica suddenly looked at him carefully. You really mean it? What? You really think I can get her back? Yunwoo looked genuinely confused. Of course you can. Like it wasn't even a question. That hit Erica harder than she expected. Because, after years of shame and blame, someone finally believed she deserved another chance. But peace never lasts long in stories like this. Especially not for Park Yunwoo. The problem began on a Tuesday morning. Mrs. Han entered the dining room looking visibly tense. Yunwoo noticed immediately. What happened? She hesitated, then quietly. Mr. Daniel Choi contacted the office. The room changed instantly. Erica physically felt it. Unwoo's entire body went still, dangerously still. He says he wants to see you. Silence. Then a humorless smile appeared briefly on Yunwoo's face, the kind that carried no warmth at all. After 3 years, Mrs. Han nodded carefully. He says it's important. Yunwoo leaned back slowly in his chair, and Erica suddenly realized something terrifying. The version of him she knew now, calmer, softer. Healing was not the version the world knew. Because, underneath all that grief and restraint, Park Yunwoo was still a man capable of hatred, and Daniel Choi had just walked back into his life. Daniel Choi arrived at the mansion, wearing sympathy like expensive cologne, perfect suit, controlled expression, carefully rehearsed concern. The kind of man who probably practiced facial expressions in mirrors. Erica disliked him immediately, not because of what Yunwoo told her, because something about Daniel felt hollow. Like every smile stopped before reaching his eyes. Unwoo. Daniel stepped forward like they were old friends meeting after years apart. Unwoo didn't move from where he stood near the fireplace. 3 years, he said calmly. That's a long grieving period. Daniel's smile faltered slightly. Erica stayed quiet across the room, pretending to organize documents while observing carefully. Daniel noticed her eventually. And this is my chef, Yunwoo answered flatly. Not rude. Protective, subtle. But she caught it. Daniel nodded politely toward her before looking back at Yunwoo. I know you hate me. Hate is exhausting. Then why does it feel like you're looking at me that way? Yunwoo's expression barely changed. Because I remember things. The air tightened instantly. Daniel shifted slightly. Only slightly, but enough Erica noticed, so did Yunwoo. Interesting. After that meeting, the mansion atmosphere darkened again. Not fully, not like before, but enough for old tension to creep back into the walls. Daniel kept showing up under different excuses: business updates, contract discussions, investment opportunities. It was obvious he was testing boundaries, watching Trang to figure out who Yunwoo had become. And unfortunately, he noticed Erica quickly. One evening during dinner, Daniel smiled casually across the table. You've changed. Yunwoo didn't look up from his wine. People usually do. You laugh now. Silence. Daniel's eyes shifted briefly toward Erica. Interesting. Yunwoo finally looked at him then, cold enough to freeze the room. Watch yourself. Daniel leaned back slightly after that. Still smiling, but careful now, very careful. Meanwhile, Erica's custody hearing approached fast. The closer it got, the worse her anxiety became. She stopped sleeping properly again. Sometimes Yunwoo found her sitting awake in the kitchen at 2 in the morning, pretending to drink tea while clearly spiraling internally. One night he quietly took the mug from her hands. You're shaking. What if she hates me? Maya doesn't hate you. You don't know that. No, he admitted softly. But I know children remember love better than adults think they do. Erica looked down immediately because tears threatened instantly. I wasn't there for her. You were drowning too. Her face tightened painfully. That doesn't change what happened. No, Yunwoo said quietly. But surviving your worst moment doesn't make you unworthy of another chance. God. He always knew exactly where the wound was. The first court hearing was brutal. Erica expected difficult. She didn't expect humiliation. Her ex-husband's lawyer painted her like a reckless addict, who abandoned her children emotionally long before the accident happened. Every painful mistake got dragged into the open, every dark moment, every relapse, every breakdown. At one point, Erica physically stopped hearing parts of the courtroom because shame flooded too loudly inside her head. Then, a hand touched hers gently beneath the table. Unwoo, steady grounding. She looked toward him briefly. His expression remained calm. But his thumb pressed lightly once against her hand like he was silently saying, "Stay here, don't disappear," and somehow, that kept her together. The second hearing changed everything, because this time, Erica spoke, really spoke. Not defensively, not emotionally spiraling. Honestly, the courtroom grew quiet while she sat there, trembling slightly. "I will regret that day for the rest of my life." No dramatic crying, no performance. Just truth. "My son died while I was unconscious upstairs." Her voice cracked softly. "There isn't a punishment harsher than waking up and realizing your child needed you and you weren't there." Silence filled the courtroom. Even the judge looked affected. Erica swallowed hard. But grief and addiction are illnesses. They are not proof that someone is incapable of love. Across the room, her ex-husband looked irritated now. Not sympathetic, irritated. "I got therapy. I got sober. I rebuilt my life slowly because my daughter deserved a mother who could stand upright again." Tears slipped down her face quietly. "And maybe I failed before. Maybe I broke completely. But I came back." Maya looked at her mother differently after that, not fully healed. Not suddenly emotional, but differently, like she was finally seeing a person instead of a story someone else told her. 3 days later, the judge granted shared custody. Erica cried before the words even fully registered. Not graceful tears either, the ugly kind, relieved, overwhelmed, disbelieving. Outside the courthouse, Maya stood awkwardly beside her suitcase while Erica tried pulling herself together emotionally. For a few painful seconds, neither knew what to say. Then quietly, "Mom?" Erica looked up instantly. Maya hesitated. "You really stopped drinking?" The question nearly shattered her. "Yes." "How long?" "Almost 2 years." Maya nodded slowly. Then, after a pause, "I want to try." That was all, but it was enough. Erica pulled her into a hug, so carefully like she was afraid the moment might disappear. And after a second, Maya hugged her back. Life inside the mansion changed again after Maya arrived. At first it was awkward, very awkward. Maya clearly didn't know what to make of Park Yoon-woo, especially after hearing rumors online about him being cold and terrifying. Then, on her second night there, she accidentally witnessed something, a nightmare. Erica woke up crying quietly after dreaming about her son again. By the time Maya stepped into the hallway sleepily, Yoon-woo was already there, holding Erica gently while she cried against his chest. No embarrassment, no impatience, no telling her to calm down, just holding her, grounding her. Maya stood there unnoticed for several seconds. And slowly something shifted inside her, because maybe for the first time in years, she saw what love was supposed to look like. Meanwhile, Daniel made his final mistake. Arrogance always ruins men like him eventually. Private investigators hired quietly by Yoon-woo uncovered old financial transfers connected to the accident setup years earlier, degraded records, offshore payments, enough evidence to reopen everything. When Yoon-woo confronted Daniel privately one last time, the mask finally cracked. "You were supposed to fall apart," Daniel snapped bitterly. "That was the whole point." Yoon-woo stared at him with terrifying calm. "My wife and son died. And you still got the contract." There it was. The truth. Ugly and pathetic. Jealousy. Daniel laughed bitterly, pacing slightly. "You had everything, the perfect family, the company." His eyes darkened. "People like you never appreciate what they have." Yoon-woo looked at him for a long moment. Then quietly, "And people like you destroy things because they're empty." The police arrived 20 minutes later. Daniel looked stunned when officers entered. Like consequences genuinely surprised him. Men like him usually believed they were smarter than guilt itself. As they escorted him away, Daniel looked toward Yoon-woo one final time. "You think this fixes anything?" Unwoo's expression never changed. No, and honestly, that was true. Justice didn't bring back the dead. It just stopped the bleeding from staying open forever. A week later, rain fell softly over the mansion garden again. But this time, the house didn't feel haunted. Lights glowed warmly through the windows. Laughter drifted faintly outside. Life, actual life. Erica stood near the outdoor table, arranging dinner plates, while Maya argued dramatically with Celia nearby. "Why does she keep ignoring me?" "Because she's evil," Erica answered calmly. Celia meowed immediately like she understood the insult. Maya laughed. Real laughter, the kind Erica thought she might never hear from her daughter again. A few feet away, Yunwoo watched, quietly, hands in his pockets. Soft smile barely visible, Erica noticed him staring. What? He shook his head slowly. Nothing, but it wasn't nothing. Because 3 years ago, he buried his family believing his life ended beside theirs, and now, there was warmth in his home again, not replacing what he lost. Never that, but something new, something alive. Erica walked toward him slowly after setting down the last plate. The garden lights reflected softly in her eyes. You okay? Unwoo looked at her for a long moment before answering honestly. I think I forgot this was possible. Emotion flickered across her face instantly. Without another word, she stepped closer and kissed him softly. Not rushed, not desperate, certain, and this time, he kissed her back without fear. Behind them, Maya groaned loudly. Oh my God. Seriously. Erica laughed against his mouth. Unwoo actually smiled. A real one, the kind nobody in the mansion thought they would ever see again. And nearby, Celia stretched lazily across the garden chair like she personally deserved credit for fixing everyone's lives. Honestly, she probably did, because sometimes the people who save us arrive after we think our lives are already over. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones who were broken too. Park Yun-woo thought grief would be the end of his life. Erica believed her mistakes made her unworthy of love. But somehow, through loss, pain, and healing, they found each other. And maybe that's what this story was really about. Not perfect people, not perfect endings. Just people choosing to keep living after the worst days of their lives. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And tell me honestly, do you think love can still heal someone after they've lost everything?